Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Authors on the Air. I'm your host, James Latwell, and with us today, we've got Alex Finlay. Alex has been burning the midnight oil on the road here the last couple of weeks because his new book, Parents Weekend, came out. And wow, this blew me away, Alex. You did really knocked it out of the park this time.
Oh, well, that's high praise, Jim. Thank you so much.
Now, I kind of want to geek over it a little bit. I mean, this is from a writer's perspective. If there's an author out there who's looking for a blueprint on multiple POV perspective, my God, this one nailed it. I mean, there are. It's so complex, but it's not gratuitous. Every scene with a different POV kind of threads in this little reveal that it's so subtle, but it just comes together so seamlessly.
Oh, well, thank you. This is my, I do a lot. If you read my work, anyone, I'm a multi-point of view author. All of my books have multiple POVs, and the goal is to kind of have them all converge and move the story along at the same time. But this was multiple POVs on steroids, even for me. It was a lot of people. I was and still am concerned if people keeping track of them, but I think we struck the right balance. My only thing is I felt for the audio narrator. Usually I have multiple narrators, and they decided to go with just one. And I'm thinking, this is to be the best actress in the country to capture every verse, and she really did nail it. So
did she? Wow, that must have been a challenge, because I mean it's because the voice from chapter to chapter with the different families that you cover are very, very distinct and different. I mean, you can tell who's on the page, and that would be really difficult for an audio narrator.
Yeah, she's Brittany Presley is the voice actor, and she's I think become one of the leading voice actors for thriller books for a good reason. And yeah, I thought she nailed it, but I kind of gave a warning to
yeah. I love it.
The audio producers that my next year's book, which I'm turning in now, has two POVs because I'm like overcorrecting because I'm just point of view overload.
No, I completely get that, and like you said, I mean, it's a multiple POV on steroids. It was really, really well done. But why don't you tell folks a little bit about Parents Weekend and that story that is just really engrossing?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, the book is about the title, it's Parents Weekend at a small Northern California college. And for those of you who've been to them or had family members been to Parents Weekend, it's basically that weekend where you've sent your 18-year-old off to college, and it's your first chance to kind of visit them when they've been on their own. And I've been to a few of these for my own kids. And at this particular Parents Weekend, the dorm has assigned families to small group dinners. So there's like 5 families that are assigned to go to this dinner with their children. And the parents all show up at the restaurant, and they're all having cocktails and staying out too late and having a good time. But they're waiting on their kids to arrive. And not one of the 5 students shows up. And at first, everyone thinks, got sidetracked by a party. They're just college kids being college kids. But as the hours go by, and then a night falls, with not so much as a text from these students, panic starts to ensue. The campus police calling the FBI. Social media starts going crazy with conspiracy theories and all of that. And basically, the book takes place over this weekend. And we learn about these families, and the question is do the secrets of the parents have something to do with what happened to these 5 students, or is it a threat from the friend group from within? So that's kind of the gist of the story, and it was trying to write, but a lot of fun at the same time.
Yeah, I can imagine just trying to keep all those things together in your mind as you're putting this together, because one of the things I really enjoyed about the book was you've got the 5 families that are traveling and then arrive at this small college. Each of those families is so deliciously dysfunctional in some way that, I mean, it just kind of gave this perception of, okay, there's nobody perfect out there, and I'm going to really show you why they're not perfect. I mean, it was a great way to do that.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, and I think that having been to some of these events, it's kind of like after you have children, a lot of your friends kind of drift away as we all kind of grow up, and you become friends with your kids like kindergarten, or the kids they go to school
Right.
with, parents, those become your friends. And so you think you're finally escaping that when your kids go to college, and you kind of are, but when you go to these school events, you're thrust with people from different walks of life, different parts of the country, different socioeconomic situations. And
Right.
so I thought it was fun to kind of play around and make them, all the families are awful in their own ways. And so it was definitely, to try and, make the reader kind of delve into these different families and think, well, maybe what this awful thing this husband did has something to do with it, or maybe this job this parent has something to do
Right.
with it.
Right.
And so it was definitely just kind of a fun escape way to project on what I might have imagined about the families at the parents' weekends I've gone to. They probably weren't as exciting, but
Yeah.
that was kind of where I took it.
Now I understand that the college that we're talking about at Parents Weekend is one you're kind of familiar with.
Yeah, to my son's chagrin. My son, I based this at Santa Clara University, a small private school in Northern California. And I did that primarily because my son goes to school there, and it's where I kind of the idea for the novel congealed when I was at Parents Weekend. And it was a confluence of two things. I had gone to years prior, my oldest son, I had gone to a Parents Weekend at NYU,
Mm.
and it was pouring rain in New York in October. It was gloomy. It was my son missed this Parents Weekend breakfast that we were supposed to have. So it was kind of a dreary. I don't know, from March or April,
Mm.
and it was just so beautiful, and the campus is so pristine, and people out playing frisbee. And so I don't know why I had thought back to my oldest son's. The difference is I thought of my oldest son's Parents Weekend, and I remembered the disappearing act he had, and then one thing led to another, that I got the idea, the idea for the book. And I considered changing the college name because I don't portray the faculty or anyone very favorably. It's all made up.
It's
I put
true.
a big note at the end of the book that this is all fiction, and
Yeah.
please don't throw my son out of college. But the setting was so integral to the thought process, that it's so beautiful there, that I wanted to incorporate some of the real places, and so I thought it would be fun.
Yeah. No, it was fun. Now, one of the other things I kind of liked about this book, and it was a surprise to me coming into it, was FBI agent Sarah Keller makes an appearance, and she's been in a couple of your other novels, hasn't she?
Yeah. I don't write a series, but Keller has shown up in my first book called Every Last Fear,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the book called The Night Shift. And I hadn't planned on Keller being in this book, but I had started writing the story, and I really had delved into these 5 families. And when I shared it with my agent and my editor, they really thought we needed an outsider kind of perspective on this, and probably a law enforcement person. I really like writing Keller. She's very easy to write for me and her husband.
Yeah.
So I decided to put her in for that reason, but also because she and her husband, like kind of like in a lot of thrillers and mysteries, where every husband and wife or couple are at it, have a dysfunctional relationship, hate each other, trying to kill each other, whatever it may be. She and her husband have a really solid, great relationship, and so I thought it would be a fun contrast to these, the families I was portraying. We definitely, none of them had a great relationship.
Yeah, and I kind of like the way you put her in this book in Parents Weekend. You kind of put her on the back foot because she's coming in a new location, where her husband's family is living, but she's got a new position, new boss, and she's not necessarily in charge, and but she still doesn't take no for an answer. How do you kind of work in her head and get her on the page like you do?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I write her personality pretty easily. I think she's got a lot of qualities my wife has, so I kind of like steal from that part of my life. But yeah, I thought she was, in the other book, she is an agent in New York, and I needed to find a way to get her to San Francisco area, the Bay Area, for this book when I decided I wanted to put her in. And actually, it was an FBI agent that I've become friendly with, who's helped on research with my books, who gave me the idea of, oh, well, you can have this temporary transfer if you have family emergency. So I kind of worked that into the story, that her husband's father is, in ailing health. So she takes this temporary job at a field office in San Francisco. And what I've learned is that, every field office and all of that in the FBI are different. But whenever you're the new person, you've got, you're going to get the least favorable, desirable assignments. You're going to be, on your toes. You're not going to have the capital built up from your reputation. So it was fun to have her being, in the other book, she's so competent and so respected, kind of being like, this is back to square one in a new area with a new, bosses and situations she's not familiar with.
Yeah, and I thought it worked well, and she was kind of the thread. I felt the thread that kind of held all of these 5 families together in the story, and just kind of connected all the pieces together. So, again, just an amazing job on the book. I can't say that enough.
Well, thank you.
So now we've talked about it before, but it's so unique and kind of interesting to me. Your process. Do you still dictate your story into your iPhone as you're walking?
Well, I've never dictated it, but I have typed. So I am it always makes me, this comes up at different events, and everyone finds it either just disturbing or fascinating, that I'm a total hack. But I basically write the first draft of my book on my phone as I'm walking, and I've gotten pretty good at being able to walk and type at the same time. I've been told there's so many more efficient ways to do it. I actually did buy a really high-tech dictaphone that actually transcribes your voice as you do it. Nothing's worked other than the tried and true walk, type myself an email, dump all of that, all of the garbage that I write into a Word document at the end of the week. And then that's what I use to get a start. And for me, it's been, it was how I started writing, because I'm a lawyer, and when I was younger, newer in my career, I was working super long hours, had a young family. The only time I had to write was on the subway to and from work in Washington, D.C. So I think that's where I got that kind of mindset that I needed to be moving. I needed to do it that way. And it's since been just, since then, now it's just, I can't get, I need that process to get words on a page, because I'm just not good when I sit down at a computer and it's a blank page. I know no one is, but for me, just having all those things I typed out to work with, to look at, gets me, able to kind of move forward.
Yeah, I would find myself walking into traffic if I tried to do that. I mean, have you ever been doing this and you're so engrossed in it that you kind of look up and like, I'm a mile away from where I thought I was going to be?
Yeah. Well, you've raised a few things my wife has brought up repeatedly. One is she's always worried I'm going to get hit by a car. I would say I have good situational awareness. I kind of, although I was at an event last night, and Sarah Pekkanen reminded me that, and that's a buddy of mine who's a great writer, that when I was abroad, I was doing this, and in Paris, they have these cement barriers that kind of jut out of the ground. And I mangled my leg. I'm lucky I didn't end up in the hospital in another country. So that was a lot. I have had, that is the only incident I've ever had. But even when I was, when I was younger and I was doing this, I remember there were times that I'd be on the subway and I'd look up and I'd be like 8 stops deep into DC, an area I don't know. And so it has had those, moments, but I just don't have any other kind of way to do this at this point. I'm getting old and I'm set in my ways. So.
I love it. So I know you're going to be at Thriller Fest coming up.
Yeah.
Anything, anywhere else people can find you?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to my website, I have all my events, which are changing, so I have a few left on my book tour. It's all at alexfinlayauthor.com. You can see the full list there, and it's been a lot of fun getting to see readers. As you know, Jim, we spend the year by ourselves doing this, and then we get a couple weeks out there where they let us out of our caves to go, kind of meet people. So it's been a great, if not exhausting, tour. But yeah, so just check my website or Instagram.
Perfect. So we'll end up with 3 quick hits, 3 quick questions, and I want to put you in Sarah's headspace for a bit. So, what's Sarah's favorite cocktail? What does she like to drink?
Sarah, I think she likes. I think she likes a glass of wine. Actually, probably a rosé is my guess.
Okay, I could see that. How about her music? What does Sarah listen to?
God, you're testing my Sarah Pekkanen knowledge here. I've never talked about music with her. I guarantee you she doesn't like what I like, which is like 90s grunge or 80s hair metal. But I actually don't know. That's good. I'll have to hit her up with that.
Okay. And then finally, in Parents Weekend, you've got, if you had to pick one of the 5 kids, Libby, Blaine, Mark, Felix, or Stella, which do you think would have the most fear about coming back to school when this is over?
Ooh, that's a great question. The most fear about coming back to school, I would have to say Felix, but I won't tell you why.
Yep, I think I know. So, folks who've been talking with Alex Finlay, Alex's new book, Parents Weekend. I mean, you're going to want to get this one because, people are going to be talking about this one. So, well done, Alex, and it's always great to talk to you. And
hopefully positively, but we'll
mostly positive.
It's always great to see you and talk to you, Jim. Right. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Take care. We'll see you soon.